Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Now, we started off today by printing the model we had in the last video. This was really just a shell, but it was very useful for figuring out some of the internal dimensions of the boat and where things were going to go. There was a couple issues with the printing, but overall it was pretty good, so... After playing with this for a little bit, I came up with some mounting ideas for the internal structure, including a motor mount, some bracing, a servo mount, and also mounting for all the other components, as well as a lip to allow the cover to sit comfortably inside the boat. After lots and lots of prototyping, we finally came up with some ideas. The motor mount had to be mounted on a sliding rail to allow it to fit outside of the hole in the boat top. This cover had some very tight tolerances which had to be figured out. It also had to have screw holes for the motor to mount, as well as be a tight fit on the motor just for the extra support. After playing around with the tolerances, I finally got the rail size right, which I used in the final boat, as this piece was to be part of the frame. And then came printing the final boat. Now, this took a long time, about 20 print hours, but the print came out super well, apart from one little issue on the side, and yeah, it had mounting for absolutely everything we needed inside the boat. Once all the support materials were removed, you can see all the mounting spaces. I ensured to brace everything securely, as well as leave extra room for the battery. The servo has its own little bracket, the motor has its spot, as well as holes for water cooling. The receiver is on a slightly raised platform just in case water gets in, as it's the least waterproof part inside this boat. Some things are mounted with double-sided tape, and some things are mounted with screws. It just depended on where it was in the boat. The servo had to be sanded down on the arm, just to allow it to clear the cover. It was a little bit tighter than expected. I put in a piece of pipe between the water cooling hoses and tried to float it. And it floated pretty well, so I was pretty happy with that. And here you can see the propeller going in as well as the motor. It is quite finicky as the boat is very small, so fitting some of these parts into the spots where they're meant to go was not easy. And that's something that could be adjusted in the future. And here you can see pretty much everything mounted inside it. And here you can see how the steering system's going to work. Everything was working pretty well. I glued on the accelerator at the back. As you can tell, it's now got a stator as well as having a much more refined design and mounting for a turning vane, which you can see here. So now when you turn the steering, you can turn that bucket on the end of the boat, allowing the boat to go left and right accordingly. And now came time for testing. I just put some plastic over the top to protect it. It sat pretty low in the water, which was a bit of a concern. And we were getting some working water flow out of it. However, it wasn't quite perfect and it kept cutting out and we couldn't figure out why. And then we realized water was getting inside the boat, so we quickly disassembled it. This wasn't ideal, but it was bound to happen at some point during this process. And here you can see we found metal shavings where the connector was, leading me to believe that there's a slight issue there with how the connector was working. After this, I put the boat with some weights in it, just to figure out if it floated. And when I came back in the morning, it had sunk. So that wasn't a very good sign, so definitely need to do something about that in the future. But overall, the boat's working pretty well, so we have a couple things to change. We've got to paint it to make it waterproof, which I could do easily, as well as adjust the propeller angle to allow it to stop slipping on the motor mount. Water cooling, adjust the cover so that it could seal properly, as well as just neaten it up so it can go a little bit faster. But we're almost there and this project should be over soon. So, thanks for watching. For everyone who's followed so far, make sure to leave a like and I'll see you soon.